Dancing Queen.
Oh, perfect. And you're recording too. Is that okay with you guys if we record this session?
Absolutely. Yep.
That's awesome.
Okay, so welcome everybody. And how many people do we have here today?
29 so far.
Awesome.
Oh,
wow, that's awesome.
Great. And I'd like to start things off. Maybe if you have specific things you'd like to get from this, like you'd like a couple of great takeaways or areas or challenges you have around multiple offers, if you could put that in the chat. And Angelic, you could manage the chat and we could visit those questions at some point.
Yes, I'll follow the chat for you guys.
Great. And any questions so far?
Amanda, this went, Angelique, this went to Amanda, right? Pivar?
I'm on.
Oh, there she is. I see her. Oh, there you are. Hi, Amanda.
Yep.
Hi.
There she is.
Okay, so we're going to discuss multiple offers today, which is certainly the topic of the month. And where we'd like to go, first of all, is Candace and I are going to do a little role playing later on about between a buyer agent calling a listing agent and extracting the right information and creating the right type of relationship to put them in a favorable position. What I want to first start out with is talking about when you're first putting your offer together and you make a call to the listing agent. The key thing here is what I find is you have to enroll the listing agent in who you are. You've got to compliment them, go towards their ego. You want to get the listing agent on your side. You want to do everything you can. You want to be authentic, but you want to really get to where, you know, what works for them. And from that, you'll be able to derive the best strategy for you and your client. And I'll give you some examples. Typically, it would be, you know, Mike, I'm really having a hard time figuring out what the right price is going to be for your listing. And can you help me or point me in the right direction as far as where you see the value so I can educate my client? So again, you want the listing agent to feel that sense of control and you want them to help you. Can you give me an idea?
Mike, can you say that again?
So where you want to go is you want to say, you know, you being the buyer agent, you know, Mike, I'm having a hard time figuring out, in this market, Mike, I'm having a heck of a time figuring out pricing. And I was wondering if you could help point me in the right direction so I can educate my client, right? So I give them an idea of what your client's expectations and where we need to go. So that is like super critical, right? I tell you what, the listing agent does not want your opinion, period. Not looking for your opinion, not looking for an argument, not looking to be challenged, right? So, if you happen to know something good about the listing agent, you did a deal with, like somebody in their office, something it's like going on a listing presentation. You want to be able to create a relationship as quick as that is with the listing agent. And things that you want to extract is, I was reading an article today, hopefully I can say this we're taping it, maybe I won't say it. So it's like that, oh my gosh price that you're like the listing agent, what is that oh my gosh price that your client may have in mind, right? And Mike, what's your thoughts? And, as I said, if you could just help me to make this effective, make your job easy, Mike, and again, just more enrollment. Like, Mike, if I was able to get an offer, what would work best for you and your client? How do you like to do things, Mike? If I was to start a bully offer, how would you like to handle that, Mike? What's the best way for you and your client if I was to bring you something, first asking, would you look at a bully offer or preemptive offer, is how would you like that handled? And if I was to do that, where should you go? My preference as a listing agent is that agents call me, talk to me, and we talk about what we can do to put it together so that we are working in harmony together. And as a listing agent, what I don't like is if someone just fires me a preemptive offer, we're off to a bad start. So because I prefer to I want to talk to my client, and I want to be able to, if anything, is get a sense that I'm not caught off guard. So also you want to know what the listing agent's process is and their guidelines, like how do they like to do? What are their guidelines? Are you the kind of agent wants the best offer and you're going to make a decision? Are you the kind of how do you like to do things, Mike? Do you like to do a second round? Do you, if you could educate me on what's going to work for you and make you look good in front of your client, that's what I'm up for. Because really what you want to do is how can you make the listing agent look good, feel good, in control, and yet you're able to extract the necessary information. Because what we quite often see is all the time you're caught off guard. You're putting in offers like that. You're ready for the second round. All of a sudden they've accepted something, or they choose only to deal with the top 2 or 3 offers. You've got to know that information, right? Because what I found as a listing agent, if I only deal with the top 2, I have had many times where an offer that was in 4th or 5th place end up winning the whole thing. I've seen that lots of times. So what you might want to throw out at them is, Mike, before you accept an offer, could you please give me a call so I can talk to my client for that? Like before you accept anything, because my client, I've seen, my client may not be in the ball game right now, but they're willing to come up substantially so that you don't get your knees cut out from underneath you. Other important tips, how you construct the offer. I see tons of offers that are poorly put together. That's a real bad start. Spelling mistakes. Now, I get that sometimes as agents, we're rushing to put the offer together. It's coming out of nowhere, but properly put together offers are really key because the listing agent gets confidence in how well you do things. Having a photocopy of a check is again important. Being able to say to the listing agent, I will have a check ready. If I have to drive to your office by 9 o'clock that night, I'll have a check in place. I can't tell you how many agents don't have a check in place. And for me, I'll even say, we'll take a personal check. If you can have a personal check by end of day closing, then that would secure the offer for you. Because as we all know, no check, no deal. So again, you want to always be able, to talk to you want to talk to the listing agent, how strong your people are. You want to talk about their financing, how stable they are, especially with appraisals not coming in. So you want to be able to reassure the agent that how solid your clients are. Talk a little bit about people that send in letters with pictures of the family and the kids, and now for me that's lovely. It is lovely, right? But what I've come down to, it'll only make a difference. What I've seen is if you're close and the other agent doesn't have maybe a check in place, the other agent is sloppy. I will quite often recommend to my client, if the other agent competing to does not have all their ducks in a row, the letter might be, and that agent has treated me really well all the way through the transaction. That's where it can come in handy. All right. As I said, where we run into problems with listing agents is with shady, inexperienced listing agents, or not buyer agents, right? Who are rushing. They're not sure what they're doing. If you're not sure what you're doing, that's fine. Just enroll the listing agent to help. Tell them, you know what? I'm a newer agent. I've been in the business less than a year, and I've heard all about you, Mike. You've got a great reputation. If you could help coach me and what I should do so that I might have an opportunity to at least get my clients on a level playing field, I'd really appreciate that. Other little tips that you can do for multiple offers that really help. If you can build in a flex closing clause, again, another could really give you a big advantage. If you're able to do that with your buyers, if your buyers have the capability, I only see that in less than 10% of offers, but it could be a real game changer for people that are putting in offers. And another one is when you sent your offers in, you're looking to get feedback, and I'm sure all of us get frustrated because we've submitted the offer, an hour goes by, an hour and a half goes by, we haven't heard from the listing agent. We have no idea where we stand. So again, asking the list, how, like I understand you're going to be real busy, Mr. or Mrs. listing agent. I just want to make sure that we're ready, we're on standby. And by the way, where do we stand so far? Like you've looked at 8 offers, where do we stand? And they'll give you, they might something vague like, oh, you're not bad. You're not, you might ask them, what place am I in? Am I in 2nd place? Am I in 3rd place? Am I in 4th place? And when they answer, yeah, you're in 3rd place. Oh, great. Okay, that's good to know. What could help me get closer to 1st place? Can you coach me on how I could get closer to 1st place? And they're gonna, and and you help them. You said like, everything put together. Is my closing date? Is everything in order? I got my check. Is it strictly money at this point? And if it's money, it might be like, where do I need to go? Do I need to go 20, 30, 40? Like, again, trying to get information out with them without them. They can't tell you what the offer is, but they can coach you along. Candace, anything you want to add at this point?
Sorry, I think a role play would be good.
Okay, great. So let's do a role play, Candace. So,
I see in the chat that
sorry, pardon me.
Sorry, I see in the chat that Deb Bennett wanted to talk about preparing for your buyers. So after we do a role play, I'll do preparing your buyers to making the offer. And then Emma, sorry?
Oh, when you're done, I have a question for Mike.
Okay. And then Emma asked, when you're the listing in the state, you have a seller's direction, no offers until such and such a date, and within an hour of listing, an offer comes in. Within hours of going live, you get an offer, but you have a direction of no.
Okay.
You got that,
so,
Mike?
Angelique, how many questions do we have in the share? About 3?
That was
I just read them.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're on
Candace
top
just
of
read
that.
them.
Okay, so do you want to do a role play? Do you want to answer? Do you want to do some answering questions right now first before we do the role play, Candace?
Yes, I was just asking you those questions, and then Sue has a question.
Okay, Sue, why don't you start with your question?
Yeah. So Mike, when somebody asks you where do they stand in the offer? Are they 1st, 2nd, or 3rd? Are you okay with answering that? Because I'm on the fence about answering that when I'm the seller's agent.
Yeah, I'm totally. I mean, I really am working for the seller, so I want to encourage them to move forward.
Okay.
So like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll probably volunteer. Like they'll go, how's it go? Because I don't think it's fair to cut agents off at the knees and they never know what happened. So to me, I'm very often coaching them. I'll say, you're in the middle of the pack.
Okay.
And they'll go, okay, or I'll tell them you're one of the lower ends of the, right? So they're not sitting around all night, and like they're not going to be in the ball game anyways.
Okay.
And and I'll give them they'll go, oh, middle of the pack, where do I need to go? I said, well, you probably need something with at least 5 zeros. You need something with 6 zeros.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Because I want them to leave at the end of the whoever wins, that they feel respected, whole, and complete.
Okay,
Does that answer that, Sue?
that does, thank you.
Okay. Any more quick questions or before we get to the two, Emma?
Well, Emma had her question. When you have a listing which states the seller's direction. Emma, you're looking like you're trying to talk. Did you want to ask?
She does.
You're muted.
Can you unmute yourself, Emma?
Oh, hi. Sorry, let me just go to that. Can you hear me?
We can,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, quick question. So when you've obviously got all those offers coming in and you say you've got your first, second, third, middle of the pack. Now, the first offer, that's your best offer. Okay, and do you tell them then, because you said I tell them they're 1, 2, 3, do you tell them they're in first place or?
Oh, no, you're right. So good point. So if they're in first place, I generally tell them you're right in the play. You're
Okay.
like, you're right there. You're in it. And they're okay with that. They're a little nervous, but they're, and then at that point they should be saying, Mike, whatever it is, do not shut us out, right? Please, before you accept, and would you promise me, Mike, that you'll speak to me before you accept anything? That's a very valuable question to ask a list, right? Will you promise me you will speak to me before you accept something, just in case I've had my client, lost in other offers where all of a sudden they're willing to go 100,000 more. So, ask that question so you're never shut out.
Okay, thank you.
Who else has got a question? Is it Dad?
No, I'm using my husband's laptop
All right.
today.
Go ahead,
Sorry
Dad.
about it. It's Joanna, by the way.
Hi,
And,
Joanna.
Hi. I have a question because I lost an offer and there was like 12 offers in total and we didn't get it. So my question for you is, I'm new. So I was a little afraid to think about to determine how long after should I text or call the listing agent, so I don't sound too desperate or bothering them. It's a rule in the middle of the conversation when they're trying to talk to their clients. So in a multiple offer situation, how long do you think I should wait before I should send her a text or call her? And what's your approach? Do you call, do you text?
So what you want to do is you want to set that up in advance. So when you're talking to the agent, you want to ask the agent, how do you like to communicate? You might say, I've been there. I know what it's like to manage 8 or 9 offers. I'm sure you go how do you want me to text you? Does that work best for you? Does email? Because I want to make sure that, you want to be really clear when because you could say, as a listing agent, I said, it's probably going to be 45 minutes to an hour before we've been able to look at all the offers and go through them. So you want to set that in advance. How does the agent like to be? It's like your own client. You should be asking them, how do you like to be communicated with? How often do you want to be communicated with? So find out in advance what the answer to that is.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Is that it? Is that it for questions, Candace?
Yes,
Yes,
Yep.
it is.
good to go.
I think my
Awesome.
question,
Sorry,
actually,
somebody?
yeah, hi, it's Emma again.
Okay.
It was just a question about when you bring a listing out and you're holding back for a week on offers, and literally within hours an offer comes through and the agent hasn't made any chatted to you or anything. It literally comes through as almost a surprise. What do you do in that situation?
Okay, so would you just repeat that again? I just got a little noise in the background here. Sorry,
Right.
pardon me.
So when you bring a listing out and you're holding back for a week on offers with seller's direction, and obviously it's in the MLS listing, but all of a sudden an offer will come in and you have no idea it's coming in. It literally just comes through. How do you proceed with that situation?
As a listing agent?
Mhm.
Well, I first of all look at the offer. I'm going to call the agent right away and discuss things, right? To see, we'll look at the irrevocable. And, you know, quite often so are you talking bully offer?
Yeah, when you get a bully offer.
Yeah. So, you know, like I had one 2 weeks ago. I was literally at my granddaughter's birthday party, and I had a 2-hour irrevocable. And, you know, and what I did as a listing agent, I called my client and I enrolled my client that 2 hours was not enough time for us to deal with this effectively, because everything's got to come from your client. You as the listing agent are should not be making the decisions. Now, you can enroll your client into it. Now, fortunately, he was with the CBC and he had a deadline and he was really not available. So that worked out very well. And I called back the agent. I just said, you know, I'm sorry, we just can't deal with it. You know, as much as we like to do, we just can't. My client's on a deadline. He's working till midnight. If you could give us till 12 noon tomorrow, you know, then we can deal with it at that point. She wasn't happy, right? But as soon as she did that, of course, we had to change the MLS saying that we're looking at offers now. And I emailed, and here's a good point. I emailed every agent to say that we're looking at a bully and would be making a decision by 12 noon tomorrow. Do you know how many agents are not even looking at their emails? Like more than you would expect, right? Like I was getting calls the next afternoon. Oh, Mike, I just saw your email, right? So you've got, so that's how I handle it. I basically because first of all, I want to honor the MLS rules and make sure, and I also notify anybody that's about to show it, because I've had them jump in and go over that evening or that next morning. I've had full mornings the next day of people that were showing it a day later.
Okay, that's great. Thanks so much, Mike.
Okay. Anybody else before we get into our role play? Awesome. Okay, Candace, you want to start us off?
Okay. Mike, so ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, Mike. This is Candace from Keller Williams. How are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. How you doing, Candace?
I'm good. I'm good. Have you got a few minutes to chat? I've got a few questions about your new listing on Main.
Yeah, sure.
Wonderful. So you saw I took my clients through this morning, and we're very, very interested. I see you have offers scheduled for Thursday at 5.
Yeah, that's correct.
There's a reason for that. Obviously, we're in multiple offers on every home that we're looking at. Any chance that your client might be interested in looking at a bully offer?
Yeah, I think at the right price, they consider it.
And when you're saying right price, what have you discussed with your client? Like what a ballpark right price, knock them dead, sock them out, be the big bully. What do you think that big price would be?
Well, that's a tough one. The way the market's going, but I would say Candace, it's got to have like a 1-1 in front of it before my client would even consider looking at it.
Okay, that sounds great. I can do that for you, Mike. So I see it's 11 o'clock right now. Could I do something and send it to you with a 5 o'clock irrevocable? Would that give you and your client enough chance to chat? I know I'll have it over 1-1, Mike. I know I'll be firm, and I know I'll have a check in hand. So do you think that would that give you enough time till 5 p.m.?
It'd actually be a little tight. If you could give me till 9, that would work a lot better.
How about we split the difference? Would that be okay with you? I'm not trying to push you against the wall here, Mike. I'm just trying to, my clients have lost out on 12 different times. So I'm just really, this is, and obviously this is totally the home for them. We're going to really slam it. So I think you'd be really happy with the offer I'll bring you.
Yeah. You know what? I could probably push it to 8 p.m.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to send my clients to the bank. I'm going to have them come get the offer organized. I'm going to get it to you within the hour. So you've got, a chance to call your showings, chance to call your sellers, and to, get that all organized. But I think you'll be happy with it. And I really appreciate it, Mike. I know it's a tough time out there for buyers and for sellers. So, I know you'll do a good job, and I look forward to working with you.
Great. Okay, no problem. Great. I'll look forward to seeing the offer.
Okay, so let's play that you are not going to take, you're not going to look at a bully.
Okay.
So ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, Mike. This is Candace. Kaszas, Keller Williams. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Great, great. I just saw your home on Main Street and my clients are over the moon excited about it. Is there any chance that you would have an opportunity to let us, for your clients to look at a bully offer?
No, I think they want to wait till offer time.
Okay, okay, all righty, okay. So I'm just having, I mean, it's just times right now. It's really difficult in trying to figure out, price. So I'm seeing detached myself somewhere between like a 1.2 and a 1.25. Do you think that's kind of around the ballpark of what your clients are thinking of?
Yeah, I mean, those are the comps. And you know what, as you've probably seen, Candace, I've sold a couple recently where we
Yeah.
thought that was a really good price. And yet
Yeah,
it went like 100,000 over even what myself and my client expected. And my
yeah.
clients, they're the kind of people I know that if they accepted something earlier, they'd be probably, wondering what they could have got.
Oh, sure, sure. I understand. I understand. So if something does come in the meantime, you let me know. I'll just sort of keep nudging at you. But just, I know price always is
I'm just gonna, on that note, Candace,
yeah.
I'm happy to do that, but if you would email me with your contact information, that way I can keep track of it.
Oh, okay, great, great. Now, so aside from the price and coming forward on Thursday, your offer date,
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, like, what is the ideal closing date your client would be looking for?
June 11th would be perfect.
Is it okay? And why is that date? May I ask?
Well, they haven't found a place yet. They want sufficient time to be able to purchase a condo.
Oh, okay. So my people are pretty open too. So if I put a flex clause in, like a moving forward or moving beyond of 30 to 45 days, that might entice the offer a little bit, right?
Yeah, that would be that. They would love that.
Okay. And if they didn't find something, would they want to stay in the property for like maybe 3 months and rent it back from us? Would that give them a little bit of that might entice them a little bit more?
I never even went over that with them, and I'm almost scared to go there. So
Oh, okay.
I mean, I appreciate you're trying to be as flexible as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think that I probably wouldn't even want to go there with them on that.
Okay, all
Is
right.
is that something that would work better for your clients if we were to rent back?
Mike, honestly, it wouldn't matter to us. We just need to find a home. We've been
Okay.
in multiple offers a number of times, and this one they really love. Every time I keep telling them it's, each home that we look at that we offer on, the next one's the better, the next one's better, next one's better. So this seems to be the best that we've seen so far. So we're pretty excited about it. I'll look forward to seeing you on Thursday, and I'll send you an email now. Really appreciate it, Mike. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Okay, so those are a couple of scenarios that we've done. Can anybody else think of any other scenarios or things don't go quite that smoothly that they'd like us to address?
Mike,
Yeah.
yes. So like I've talked to some agents who are more friendly and some are not. Pretty much they just don't want to talk at all and tell you like thank you and then hang up, that kind of conversation.
Mhm.
So when you are dealing with that kind of agent, do you just kind of move on? Because I feel like or yeah, do you just kind of feel like move on and then instead of trying to still talk to them and get some information?
Yeah, I'd probably be more likely to text them or email them and say, it sounds like you're pretty busy right now, and I don't want to certainly make your life less tough, but I'm just wondering what works best for you as far as the best way to communicate you. I'm sure you're, doing multiple things, but what's the best way to stay in touch with you? How would you like to handle this? So I wouldn't be give up too quickly on that. And I just try to find out what's going on in their lives as far as how we're going to put this together.
Okay. And I have one other question. So the way that you and Candace are playing, it is in the multiple offer situation. So in that case, you are showing the listing agent how much your client is interested. So because you want to have a chance. So the other, if you know that you are not in a multiple offer situation, do you still do that from the initial conversation, showing them how much interest you have, or you don't play it that way?
And who am I talking to?
So let's say if you are the buyer's agent, and you're
Okay.
talking to a listing agent, but
Right.
it's not in the multiple offer situation, do you still try to show as much like how much your client loved the place, or do you play a more neutral way?
Yeah, I mean, because it seems like everybody loves it or everybody wants it. I don't know how relevant that is. I'm always looking at how do I enroll the other agent? How do we build a relationship here that they're going to be on my side, you know, at the end of the day? And that's really, I mean, the agents that I work best with are agents that are super personable and, you know, even sense of humor and try, you know, like understanding. Yeah, so I would say just building a relationship with the other person is really the best advice I could give you.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, it's Jen Payette.
Hi, Jen.
Hey there. Question about the preemptive bullies. When they give you a really short irrevocable, I mean, the way you guys played it out, not a lot of buyer agents are willing to give more than 2 hours on a bully. How do you get more time, or if they refuse, what do you do?
Well, you know, first of all, I've got to discuss it with my client before I do anything. And what happens in this business is quite often you're looking at your own schedule and you're going, I can't possibly do this. Like, you know, I've got, you know, I got my mom's 85th birthday at 4:30 this afternoon, right? And that's important. So I'm always looking at, so I would, you know, when I speak to my client, I'd say it's really to their, I mean, here's the question, you know, I said, the offer's pretty decent. And now if we can do it, you know, and it's like, and we can actually get a hold of everybody and that, but I've only been forced once where I had to do it within a 2-hour period. Now I'll grant you, it was about 300,000 higher than anything else that ever sold. So my clients dropped everything and I was able to drop everything and put it together. But usually what I'm doing is it's really in my client's best interest. And so I have to figure out, and the client's got to say they're willing to take that risk to wait till offer time. And, you know, I've got to say, you know, it's like they're coming at a 1.1. They may not come back. You know, I would say they generally do, but not always come back. But I would say, you know, with the experience I've had, it's to your best interest to maybe wait if we can't jump on it that quickly.
Okay, thank you.
I know, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it actually does. Thank you.
I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're working with a seller and you start to see the offers come in, how do you manage the sellers not getting too greedy? So if you have a bunch and you've already gone back twice, or you have one offer that's way above the others and they're pushing you to go back and get more from that one.
Yeah, which happens. And so again, I try to do as much prior, like it's not great when you find out that your client's expectations are A, unrealistic, right? And B, it's come out of nowhere. And that happens, as we all know. So I'm working really hard to get that mystery, you know, that old, you know, that, oh my gosh, price from them. And but I do have situations where my client is just plain greedy. Doesn't matter what I say. They're just, greed overtakes everything. So then I've got a real job to do with the agents. And sometimes I will, maybe I'm working with two agents that are both in the mix and are still shy of what my client's expectations are. You know, I'm going to lay it on the line and just say, you know, my client, you know, these are two great offers. If it was me personally, I would be accepting them. But, you know, I'm working in an environment where clients' expectations are like super high. And so I said, you know, I said, you've got a couple of choices here. If you can come back with some more money, awesome, great. But I think what my client wants to know that I'm squeezing every rock, every orange that I possibly can, whether I like it or not, right? So he's expecting, or she's expecting, my effort here. So I don't want to offend you. You know, I'm talking to the other agents. I don't want to offend you because this is a great offer, right? And I just said, you know, if you will hang in, right? I said, even if you have to send the same offer back to me, I would appreciate it. And it's usually sometimes I have to, and it's like what I find sometimes, if they see you've exhausted, if they actually see that I'm personally ready to either fall down or cry, or I've lost my mind, they'll go, okay, we'll take it. You know, it's like, not only want to put pressure on other people, they want to see me sweat a little bit as well. Does that ring at all?
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
And then
'Cause I
Mike,
gotta
what
keep-
do you do when
What? Go ahead.
what do you do when you have 12 offers and there's like 3 that are way low?
So what I do is I have an offer sheet that spells out, like goes out to every agent on exactly how we're going to do things. Like I leave no rock unturned. So it spells out the whole page. And quite often what I want to do is I'll probably say I'll work with the top few offers. Right. So I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work. So they're not ambushed or caught off guard. And so, you know, like, so when we do it, and I'll say, I'll send 3 emails off to the agents going, we're going to work with some other offers. So in some effect, it does give them an opportunity to step up. And they've come back to me and they go, oh my gosh, you know, like, and then they have stepped up $100,000. But really, I want to be professional with them. I know how frustrating what it must be. And if they come back and they're going, is it like that much? I go, yeah. And then they bow out nicely. Right. So that's how I handle that situation.
Yeah, you just don't keep them hanging around till the very
No,
end.
I never play that game with people. My belief is, when I got in this business, I remember listing agents that used to use their power and their clout to make, and I was a buyer agent for the first 5-6 years in the business. And I remember which listing agents treated me nicely and which ones didn't, right?
We remember that clearly, for sure.
I remember that clearly. So my goal was always, I'm going to treat everybody. I want my name like Mike Clarke. Like most agents I leave, they thank me for my, you know, like, we appreciate the way you handled this, right? Now, unfortunately, with who you're dealing with out there, it's sometimes a crapshoot, right? But I mean, you've got to figure out, as I said, if you can get the listing agent, I put it in writing exactly how we're going to handle it, so there's no surprises.
And Mike, if I could ask, do you mind just speaking to that process a little bit? One of the questions in the chat was how you handle a second round. So you mentioned sending emails out. Maybe you want to just talk about the process, like you send the emails out to the agents and then you work with the top few. And then how do you handle that? Do you go to another round?
Yeah. So what I do is, like, once I've got, and I tell you, when you're managing 8, 9, 10 offers, it's tricky. You know, and I've usually got Elizabeth side by side, Candace is side by side, because you know, sometimes you'll like actually miss an offer, and so what I do is I sort of take a look at the top 2 or 3, and those are the ones I start communicating with, right? Those are the ones I'm communicating with, and what will happen is the ones that are in 4th, 5th, and 6th place will start to interact with me. and it's quite often by text these days. And now, if you're asking me as an agent, I prefer email, because I like everything documented. All right. So as I said, I'll start to talk to the top 2 or 3 to say, you guys are the contenders. This is what are working. We'll probably do probably do a second round. So I would ask you at that time to put your best foot forward on the second round. And I said, the only thing that'll change if on that second round, 2 of you come back and you're within, I don't know, $5, $8, $10,000, you're going to put me in a difficult position, right? So there it could be. And I said, would you like to be, if you're out of it by 5, do you want to have it just best person win? They'll go, no, Mike, give us a chance, right? Because I've seen in that second round, people push it substantially. And so that's how I do it. I make sure the bottom half has been notified that, we're dealing with something else. Now that gives them an opportunity to get into that top 2 or 3. Does that answer your question, all, Angelique?
Yeah, I think that was from Brittany in the chat.
Brittany, is Brittany around? Hi, Brittany.
Hi, Michael. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Anything else there?
So we have Amanda Pivar, our mortgage broker. I don't want to, we're kind of, we have 20 minutes left and she has a 10-minute presentation, I think, Amanda.
Little longer when I started adding a couple things, but about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I'll let Amanda come on very shortly. If you have more questions, you can always reach out. Angelique can channel it through me. I sent Angelique a tremendous blog issue, a famous Toronto blog today, that showed how this particular agent goes through the process. So don't be scared to reach out. We get that email of that blog over to you, which again gives you some terrific insights on how to handle this. So at this point, we're going to change. Candace, I'll let you introduce Amanda, and we'll take it from there.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks a lot. So I guess you could direct the questions to Mike at Mike Clarke, Clarke with an E on the end, and he can answer any further questions you may have.
I'm gonna time out on that one. Actually, if you could please direct it to Angelique, right?
Okay.
Or Elizabeth at MikeClarke.com.
Okay. Yes, I guess for the buyer's side, we'll have to do maybe another, preparing your buyer for multiple offers, because I didn't touch on any of that, and there's a lot to talk about there. So I think the most key component for our multiple offers would be the money. And let's turn over to our amazing mortgage broker, Amanda Pivar.
Thanks, Candace. So I'm just gonna open this up. Can everybody see it?
Yep.
Perfect. I don't know how, there we go. There's full screen. So thank you, Candace and Mike, for having me. So part of having successful offers on offer night is having strong financing behind you. So I'm going to go through what I look for the pre-approval stage up until that offer night to make sure that my clients are solid and we're not going to have an issue with the financing. So during the pre-approval, I actually do full pre-approvals for my client, meaning I check their credit, make sure there's nothing that flags, no outstanding debts that should probably be paid, that their credit's good. I also do a full income collection. So if the client's self-employed, I make sure I have the correct documentation up front. Buyers don't mean to, but sometimes a buyer will put on their application that they make 70 and don't realize that 70,000 is not the same as 69,000. So having the correct documentation up front definitely helps to avoid those situations. I also go through down payment and closing costs with them. Buyers always forget about closing costs, especially first-time home buyers. So we go through how much of what they have saved should be their down payment, how much is their closing cost. I do overestimate a couple things for my closing costs because there's nothing worse than when a buyer the day of goes, I'm a little short for closing. So I personally use $3,500 for the legal because I'm taking in consideration registration costs, title insurance, all of that. And then I also coach my clients on what to do between now and the buying process. So a lot of my clients, they get excited. They want to buy their furniture right away. And they have a lot of the big companies like Leon's and Bricks have these 0% for 6-month interest only credit cards. I tell them to avoid at all costs as much as they want to get their buying done for their new home. If they're going to be taking advantage of these 0 interest, to wait till after closing, because even though they're not responsible for the payment right then and there, we still have to take it into consideration on the mortgage side. When I'm looking at clients who are about to make an offer on the property, I really rely on the MLS listing. I always ask the real estate agent to send me your copy, because most times the clients just send me the online, so that I can make sure that nothing is different than what I've done for their pre-approval. So when I'm looking at the MLS listing, I'm looking at their actual property taxes, make sure that what I've guesstimated is correct. I had a client recently who was looking for a property downtown Toronto, so I used a reasonable downtown Toronto property tax. And then next thing I know, they bought 3 acres out in the country. Property taxes are obviously a little bit different, so that takes into consideration. And I want to double check that. Also, condo fee. I want to make sure the condo fee I'm using is equivalent to what I was guesstimating for. Sometimes condo fees come in a little bit higher because the heat's included, which is no problem at all. The MLS listing would tell me, and that allows me to take away the heating payment to make up for the slightly increased condo fee. I also look at the pictures. I rely pretty heavily on the pictures when I'm looking through the MLS listing, because I know what a lender would look for. I used to be on the lending side, and lenders look at the pictures to make sure the property is in good shape. I also read that description. So lately, I've been seeing a lot of red flags when I'm looking at the MLS listing. So when I'm reading the description, I look for things such as is condition. As is condition is always a red flag for lenders. When a lender is looking at a property, they're thinking, if this client was to default, could I resell it, and how easy would it be for me to regain my money? So when you see conditions such as as is, then that's definitely going to be a red flag, because that might create a question with the lender on, can we resell it? Another thing that would red flag me on an MLS listing is limited pictures. Why am I not seeing the inside of the property? What are we not seeing? And what are they trying to hide? Another thing that I look for on an MLS listing is tenanted. So let's just say your client's looking at a property and there's currently tenants, and they're like, well, that's okay, we can assume it for a couple months. That is not always correct. Anytime a lender is looking at a property, they want it to be vacant upon possession, because they don't want to take on any of the risk if the tenant decides not to leave. Unfortunately, that can happen. And then one thing about the description. So this is a description that I saw this week. This would actually be a major red flag for the lender. They want to make sure, one, what happens if they run out of money and default on the mortgage? Can we sell it? 2, is it major renovation? Are we going to risk losing our money? So any of these very creative descriptions, try to avoid them, and definitely send before your buyers make an offer, so that they know the risk involved if that's what it says. So down payment. So a lot of our second-time home buyers are using the sale of their current property to put towards the down payment on their new property. So the first thing I always do when that's the case is I talk to the real estate agent and I ask for the very conservative value of what that property is going to be sold for. I always ask for the very conservative value, because on my side, it is easier to increase a down payment after we know the final sale price than it is to decrease. And then for my clients, I always ask for their current mortgage statement. And if it's a bank mortgage, annual mortgage statement up front. The reason why is the annual mortgage statement for a bank gives me a lot more information when I'm calculating penalties. So unfortunately, a lot of my clients think when they get a bank mortgage that if they go to break it, it's just 3 months interest. If it's a fixed rate mortgage, chances are it's not. It's interest rate differential. The client I had this week, they thought it was just 3 months interest, which would have been $4,500. In fact, it was going to be a $23,000 penalty to break. That is huge, especially when clients are going in firm, because there is no finance condition and mistakes just are not an option. So bridge financing. So More and more, we're seeing our clients buy first, sale second. So in an ideal world, everything closes on the exact same day and the clients don't have to worry. That's not ideal. That rarely happens. Usually the closing dates are pretty separated. So luckily we have bridge financing that we're able to use to help our clients. So bridge, in order for your client to get bridge financing, they are going to need to have a firm sale agreement prior to closing. They do not need to have it on the day of approval for the mortgage, just within, say, the 60 days of when they bought to when they're closing. The maximum amount of time they can bridge for is 90 days. Based off of my example in the last one, let's just say our client needs to bridge 382 to cover their down payment, closing cost, and legal. It ranges in cost from $47 to $78 a day because every lender has different pricing. Even though that seems like a big option, sometimes the client's better to go with the $78 a day, because the $47 a day bridge cost also has a $300 discharge statement that the client pays. So every lender does it a little bit different. Those things that I would go over with the client to figure out who the best option is. Another thing to keep in mind that I go through with my clients is if they do have a long 90-day closing, they are carrying both those properties for the 90 days. So I always will go through with my clients to make sure they have enough money to cover it or in a financial situation to be carrying two mortgages. Okay, so appraisal. So that is the hot topic when it comes to financing. So when a client's putting less than 20% down payment, it's an insured mortgage. Insured mortgages actually do an auto approval. I would say 9 times out of 10, they just auto approve. They don't do a full appraisal. The only insured mortgage that I've actually had appraised in the last couple months is because there was a as is statement within the MLS listing. It wasn't a big deal. It was just an older seller, so that's why they put it in. So for insured mortgages, we have less of a concern when it comes to appraisal. More than 20% down payment. Right now, pretty much everything that I see that has 20% is requiring an appraisal. Market is moving so quickly that the automated system that some of the lenders I work with does have just can't keep up to what's actually happening in the market. So most clients are having an appraisal at this moment. Clients in mind that have a larger down payment are less concerned with because they're able to cover the difference. So that's a conversation that I always have with the real estate agent prior to offer name, and just go into, if your client happened to have the appraisal come in low, we're fine. Or just so you know, we're at the very, very top of our budget and we don't have a wiggle room. That way it helps the agent as well as the client kind of mitigate their risk when making offers. Just the one thing I always point out when I talk about appraisals. So when appraisers looking at properties, normally they're looking at the properties that have closed within the last 60 days for comparables. So please always have your comparables ready to send to me if I need them, if the appraisal did come in lower, so that we can try to get the value increased based off of the comparables used. Oh, there we go. All right, so what I'm hearing a lot of lately through agents,
I have a question here.
Oh, hello.
I can read that off.
Sorry,
So
Amanda, I have a question.
Sorry, Candace, it looked like my computer froze, but I can hear you now.
Okay. Amanda, sorry, but Deb Bennett's asking, can a buyer get bridge financing if they have a firm sale agreement, but do not need a mortgage once it closes?
So not through the traditional ways of the banks. The banks won't do bridge financing just like that. In those scenarios, we're either doing a line of credit on the new property just so that it's fully open, can be paid off at any time. If a line of credit for whatever reason is not an option, unfortunately, the only other option we have is private financing to cover that bridge. But we try to do the line of credit when possible to bridge if needed. Yeah. Okay, so mortgage broker pre-approval. So I think the biggest complaint that I'm hearing from agents I work with and clients that are working with the bank is saying, definitely leave your finance condition. That's not an option, take it out. The reason that the banks always say that is they have different channels. So when your client goes in the branch, they get their pre-approval done. That then has to go up to the underwriting department, which is so busy because they work for all of Ontario to actually approve that mortgage and advise if they would lend on it. If you ever had to deal with a bank, it can be a very slow process. So working with a mortgage broker, myself in particular, I have an underwriting background. So we're able to get things done very quickly. I worked on the lender side. I also worked on the bank side. So I know exactly what to look for when a bank or a mortgage company is underwriting a deal, which is why we're able to approve our clients so quickly. We also have really flexible hours. So there's nothing worse than at 5 o'clock on a Friday, your client that's working with the branch wants to make an offer on Saturday afternoon and being told, sorry, I'm off till Monday. You'll never get that working with a mortgage broker. We have very flexible schedules. We work real estate hours. We know that not everything happens between Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and we're able to work with that. We also have more lending options. So the client, let's just say my client wants to make an offer on this property, but the basement apartment's not legal.
Reading too loud.
Pardon?
Sorry,
Oh.
sorry. I thought I'm on mute. I told my son to be quiet.
No
Sorry.
problem, it's all good. So I was going to say more than one option. So let's just say your client's making an offer on a house that has a basement apartment, but it's not legal. Luckily on our side, we actually have more than one option that we would be able to use. So our client is not in a stuck situation, multiple options for their lending and versus just one size fits all. And we also have additional income we're able to use that banks are not able to use, which helps. If your client's going into an offer and they just need to push it by 10,000, but they have child tax benefit, or they have a basement apartment that they're not going to rent, but it's there, we can use that income to help increase it. So that's a little,
Amanda,
yeah.
I have a situation today where I'm showing somebody and they've asked that question. Can they use a rental income, buy a duplex property and increase their mortgage? How do you look at that?
Yeah, absolutely. So every lender is a little different, but some lenders it has to be like fire safe and all that. Two of the lenders I work with, Scotia and RMG, they'll use the basement apartment regardless if it's legal or not. Scotia uses 50% of their rental income to offset. RMG, if it's 20% down and in Toronto, will actually use 100% of that rental income from the basement to help qualify for that purchase.
Thank you.
No problem.
Can I just point out how important it is here, guys? So Sue could pick up the phone and call Amanda anytime as her mortgage broker in her pocket. There is nothing more valuable than having Amanda in your pocket 24/7 as you're making an offer at 10 o'clock at night to answer these such questions. It's invaluable, you guys.
That's
On
true.
this page alone shows the value of what a broker can help you with and not a bank.
Yeah, like I'll pick up, I think a lot of people on this chat who work with me, I'll be on like the beach in Mexico and I'll still picking up the phone to answer questions because business doesn't stop. And I understand that. And that's why it's so important to work with a broker versus bank.
Yeah.
Amanda, sorry, I have another question here from Ash. He is asking, oh, I think I just lost it. Is it only banks that handle the appraisal process for a property differently than you would? If so, which lenders are the best in appraising a property for a homeowner's line of credit or refinancing?
So we actually, the banks and myself, we all do it through Solidify. Solidify is a third-party appraisal. That way it just keeps everything above board. So no, there isn't any difference between who the bank would use versus myself, since we all do the same system.
Okay, super. Just hang in there, guys. We're almost done. It's 2 o'clock. I want Amanda's information up there so you can all get it.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't put a slide in. That would have been help. So in the chat, I'll put all my information so you can just copy and paste and put it in wherever works best for you.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
And I will tell you, I just went through something with a bank. They wouldn't give us the pre-approval. They took forever. We had to extend it. It was a nightmare.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The client wanted to use them, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and also like the mistakes that we see with banks as well are crazy. Like my best friend and her husband, they went to a bank as their first option because he was a little, I don't know, that was his comfort zone. And she approved them for 200,000 more than they actually should. She approved them with 10% down at 1.1. Anybody knows that's not allowed. Anything over $1 million needs 20%. So things like that are becoming more and more common, unfortunately.
Amanda, sorry, this is Joanna. Hi, I have a question about in terms of rental property that's not legal, how is your, like, from what I understand, is a lender will use only 50% of the current, the rental value as an income versus a B lender will use 80%. Is that aligned with what you are working with?
Yes, except for RMG. So RMG is actually an A lender, and they'll use 100% of our rental income from the basement, even if it's not legal, if the property's in Toronto.
But what if it's 2, 3 doors, not just the basement? Would they still look at that and use that as 100% rental income?
Yep, they will.
Okay. And that's called AMG?
RMG.
RMG. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So I see everybody is asking for Amanda's information. Amanda is one of our preferred vendors at the office. If you just call the front desk at the office, they'll give you her cell, email, everything.
Yes, and I'm trying very hard to put it in there right now, but for some reason my computer's frozen on this screen, so it's not letting me click off of it. So the office has all my information, and I can maybe ask the office for the email of everybody and send it out that way as well. My apologies. Technology is great until it doesn't work how we want it.
Amanda, your information was invaluable. That's the importance of having a mortgage broker in your pocket at all times, you guys. You cannot move forward in making an offer unless you have your posse. And Mike, that was amazing of how to work with the listing agent. I will also share our spreadsheet that we use when we have multiple offers. I'll send it to Amanda, I guess, or to you, Angelique.
I think Angelique,
Yeah,
and then people can reach out to Angelique.
yeah.
Yeah, just send it over to me. And if anybody's interested, they can email me directly.
Okay, that's great.
And Amanda's email, I'll just put it in the chat here.
I got my computer working, so I will put it in as well.
There it is. Just showed up.
Oh, beautiful. Awesome. Well, that was an amazing session.
Gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we sign off, then that chat's gone, and
I think,
Sign off, the chat's gone.
yeah.
so
So I'll
everyone's
just
got
give
that.
you a minute to get that contact information. I'll stay on for a couple of minutes. So if you guys have to go, that's fine. I'll stay on for a couple of minutes so people can grab that information.
Yeah, there were a number of people that had to jump off. So yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to say thanks again to Candace and Mike and Amanda. That was just an amazing presentation. What a value-packed hour. You guys are rock stars. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deb.
That was great. Thank you.
Don't you love our office? I love, love, love our office. Everybody. Everybody. Yay.
So thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Awesome.
And will probably be a prelude to this is we didn't have enough time, but Candace was also going to share maybe at some point the research that goes in. Well, how would you explain it, Candace, on the buy side, the research?
It's preparing your buyer and how to, you can't use comps now, guys. That's all I want to tell you. Don't use comps. If you want some information on how to work with buyers, give me a shout, but we should do a thing. You've really got
Yeah, that's a whole other topic on how to prep your buyer to you and your buyer to win on multiple offers.
Yeah.
All right. Ciao, everybody. Thank you.
Awesome.
Great seeing
Thank
everyone.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Candace.
You're
And Amanda.
welcome.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks a bunch, Amanda.
Thank you for having me. Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Trying to figure